All right, it's 2:00. Let's get started. My name is Danielle Bash. Thank you for joining us today for Backlog, What Has Changed with Bob Shackford. I'm on the marketing team here at Leap, and I'll be your moderator for today. I am excited to be joined today by Bob Shackford from Paramount Builders and Michael Zambrisky, hopefully I said that right, from GAF. Today, our goal is to talk about backlog in the industry, what's changed, and you will leave here today with some tips to help you battle backlog at your own company. So Bob is from Paramount. That's based in Virginia and services Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida from one of its 7 locations. Bob's been in the home improvement industry since 1995. He was a commission-only sales rep for years, winning Salesman of the Year for Paramount 7 times before taking a position as a branch sales manager. Brush your shoulder off. He was then promoted to Regional Sales Vice President of Operations from 2007, 2019, before becoming the president of Paramount. Due to the massive problems with manufacturing, labor shortages, the challenges of 2020, creating in our industry, Bob just recently returned to running operations for Paramount while the owner took over sales and marketing so that the company would maintain a stringent schedule to service their customers in the fastest way, which he and Mike will discuss more later today. Bob also wanted our viewers the opportunity to hear from a manufacturer's point of view about backlog. Michael is the Virginia Steep Slope Manager for GAF Roofing, and he's worked in the industry for over 16 years, and he's worked with contractors and distribution throughout the Mid-Atlantic. So thank you guys for joining me today. So without any more delay, let us kick off this conversation. Bob, Paramount has been in the business a long time, over 25 years. I'm
Coming
sure.
up on 30, yeah.
Oh, 30 years. Okay. I'm sure the way you manage backlog has evolved and changed, especially in the last 18 months. Let's talk about that. Yeah.
Wow. I don't think any of us could ever have foreseen what this environment was going to do. If somebody had told us in January of 2019, hey, get ready, you're going to go on the biggest roller coaster ride you've ever been on. It's been challenging, and not just for us. I mean, that's one thing I think people forget is that it's challenging for our consumers, which are our customers, ones buying the products and the services. It's a challenge for the owners of these businesses, for the manufacturer making the products, for your installers, your install teams, your office teams. So one of the first things I thought about when you guys asked me, what is the one thing that I took away from dealing with this current environment we're dealing with? It's that you better take care of your people. First and foremost, take care of the people that run your business and take care of your customers, because they're all frustrated too. They deal with the customer who's angry or upset that their products are taking forever to come in. The installers are dealing with it. Look, Mike is our manufacturing rep from GAF. It wouldn't do Mike any good if I called him every day and just griped and complained and said, dude, where the heck are my shingles? Get on it. Everybody wants materials. Everybody does. Unfortunately, we're in a weird place. I mean, between natural disasters, a pandemic, an administration that's willing to pay people to stay home and not go to work, it is challenging. It really is. But here's the good news. And I try to always be a silver lining person. At the end of the day, we're going to get through this, and it's going to come to an end at some point. And we've all made it through. And at the end of this, how much better and easier are we going to be able to run our companies now that we've gone through this nonsense? We'll be able to literally handle things better. And we're all putting things in place, right? We've changed our CRMs. We changed our procedures. We changed how we look at bulk ordering to maintain our inventories and things. So all the things that we're learning during this nightmare are going to make all of us better leaders, better companies, and better service providers to our end users.
Yeah, I could agree with that. What about you, Mike? Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I mean, second to what Bob's saying, I mean, on the manufacturing side, it's a little bit different in the sense that it's more of a macro scale of the folks we're supplying material for. But absolutely, I mean, right now, whether it's allocation, order, open book management, order management, manufacturers have gone to things that we really haven't needed to do in the past. I think the industry in terms of roofing, I'm not saying has been somewhat spoiled, but if you think about the roofing industry, it's always been on the shelf. If someone needed a black shingle, you go in, you order your black shingle and you have it in a couple of days, not an issue. And here we are saying, even our common colors are becoming an issue. So I think it has exposed some things on the manufacturing side, whether it's product or color, that you may see some limitations on that in the near future where we limit some of that as an industry overall. But it's definitely caused us to make some changes where, it's frustrating the fact that I have customers that want my product and I can't get them the product, right? I mean, that's the most frustrating part. I do think if you think about the business model of a manufacturer, most of us are manufacturing and have points of distribution or folks that are stocking our product to get to the end user. And in that regard, as that filters through that channel, people are having to deal with, and I don't want to say winners or losers, but material is having to go to folks that are ordering and choosing partners so that material is getting to partners. I think it's challenging right now for a smaller company dabbling on the roofing side and using multiple points to try to find material. I think that's even more challenging than ever before, versus somebody who has a partner, is turning over orders, continuously communicating and getting their fair share of the material. And both need to survive. Both need to do roofing. We want to sell them both. So that's been really the challenge, not just from us, but even with my distribution partners, to not necessarily pick and choose, but at the same time, only a certain amount of trucks are coming in, whether it's my product or a distributor's product, and who that's going to go to service has been really, really a big challenge.
You're muted.
Thank you. I said it sounds like a frustrating thing to deal with on a daily basis. In terms of moving forward and looking to the future, do you think that contractors are excited about hopefully those timeframes changing anytime soon, or do you think that it's still a ways out?
I'll start on that one. I deal with 9 different manufacturing companies that manufacture products that we use for the different, offerings that we have for our customers. I think everybody has started to realize, as a business owner, you can't just dabble. You're either in or you're not in. And if you're going to run a company and you want a successful company and a profitable company, you've got to be able to look forward. You have to be able to forecast and start positioning yourself. So the first ultimate rule is have good relationships, right? Have good relationships with your manufacturers, with your distributor partners, and constantly train and keep your sales force and your production teams up to speed. If you catch wind that something has happened, you've got to share that information all the way down to the very lowest person in your company, so that unified message carries to the company top to bottom, because that information will ultimately be conveyed to your consumer, right? So you have to have those partnerships. Based on what I'm seeing, if you think about, yes, we started with the pandemic. That's where this whole big avalanche started. And it started as a snowball, and it's got to just, world global feelings are coming out of this thing. Our supply chains have been impacted, and it's not just about raw materials. It's about the people. I want you all to stop and think about when that gas pipeline got shut down earlier this year. A lot of people didn't stop to think about, well, I'm in the siding business, or I'm in the roofing business. It's not going to impact me. Well, when gas stations start having no gas to fuel tractor trailer trucks, how are you going to move that product? When hurricanes hit in Louisiana and Texas and Alabama, stop and think about all the resin refineries that are in that port that are making those products that are coming out of there. Right now, chloride is the number one ingredient going into PVC vinyl. So your window frames, your vinyl door frames, anything that's made out of PVC vinyl, you're not going to see, because right now that chlorine plant is shut down. They have no power. And they're saying 6 to 10 weeks before that thing even comes online. That's 6 to 10 weeks of all of us in the business still selling our jobs to our customers and adding to that back order. So one of the things that you asked me, Danielle, was what did we do as a company to say, you know, how can we control this madness? How can we control the backlog? And one of the first things we had to do is get smart. And we couldn't, during the pandemic, we couldn't just send, you know, we're a canvassing company. We've made our bread and butter by sending people in the field and knocking on homeowners' doors. And that's how we got our business. 60% of it came from that medium. We couldn't do that when COVID hit. When COVID hit, you know, nobody was going to answer the door and go, yeah, come on in. Don't worry about a mask. Come on in. We literally had people calling us saying, why do you have people in my neighborhood? You're spreading diseases. It was a weird time and everybody was trying to figure it out, but we had to change. We had to adapt. We went into something that we've never done before. We literally took a risk, and Mike will remember this when we did this in April of 2020. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars going into the TV advertising business, and we didn't know what was going to happen. We were scared to death because that's a lot of money to gamble. It was a good gamble and it paid off, and we've literally have not missed a beat. We had a record year in 2020, but you have to be willing to step out of that comfort zone. And I think the big takeaway for everybody is you got to think outside the box. Normal conventional lines of thinking during this time aren't going to work. If you're doing things the way you've always done them, you're going to get left behind, unfortunately. So if you have the ability to join things like this webinar and partner up and collaborate with other like-minded people, do it. There's no stupid question. That's the beautiful part, is always be willing to educate yourself and learn something. There's no dumb questions. It's only dumb if you don't ask, you know, take the chance to go out and ask it. So partner up with your people, look at what you're offering. But what we did is we said, okay, let's dumb this down, if you would. Let's simplify it. Let's stop offering every single thing that you can possibly offer. We don't need to sell, you know, windows with painted laminate exteriors. Right now we offer white. What color do you want? Oh, white. Yes, we have that. Because what that does is that controls your production line too, because you're not extending those weird lead times. Now, I'm not going to tell you that if a customer says, no, I absolutely have to have, you know, forest green on the outside of my windows. Yes, I'm going to sell that customer, but I'm also going to make sure that that customer understands, hey, we have a challenge right now, and this is the realistic time frame for your product to happen, for your product to be manufactured, shipped, received, and scheduled. Now, the benefit that we have is because we're waiting so long for this product to come in, once it gets here, it doesn't stay here. So our warehouses are getting filled up one day and emptied the next day. So we're moving product pretty steadily.
That makes sense. What I hear you saying is that communication is a huge just factor in managing backlog and helping your homeowners have a better experience. And Mike, I guess you're like kind of the top of the chain here a little bit. How do you deal with backlog from a manufacturer standpoint to help contractors like Bob's experience better, so in turn he can give homeowners that better experience that they need?
Yeah, and it's a challenge. You know, what I've always advised, especially going into this with contractors, is, you know, whether it's one salesperson or a team of sales reps, as soon as something's sold, get that turned in or to your partner so that they can start to allocate and figure out where to get that material and color. And what I mean by that is, you know, if I start a roofing company today and I sold 2 jobs today, and I promised the homeowner that I'm going to install it next week, and I'm scrambling, calling every place in town trying to find it, that's not going to be a long-term successful plan. As you know, this is obviously not going to end tomorrow. So obviously having partners, turning that material list over, letting them resource it to tell you, hey, I don't have the Williams job, but I have the Jones, the Zambrisky, and the whatever job that we can ship. And that's, you know, it's easier said than done when you have sales reps that, you know, need to produce a job and efforts to get paid commission and all that. But it's still giving us as a manufacturer and your distribution partners the ability to communicate back and forth for what the needs are. Because we're always trying to get feedback from the field to give back to our plants so that we're producing the right product that we can. Now, if someone says, well, I really need a green shingle and it's 30 squares, GF is probably not going to make the decision to stop the line and make 30 squares of green at that time based upon the backlog of all the common colors we have. But all of that comes into factor. If I don't have that information as a manufacturer, I can't make the best business decision for the contractor that needs that. So first and foremost, it's definitely communication, picking your partners and communicate as early as possible. Now, going back to some of the things I think that are somewhat beneficial to this is I'm the tallest, shortest straw, if that makes sense. I'm still a short straw, right? It's still hard for me to get you material. But the good thing is, compared to some of the other SKUs when it comes to exterior building products, I'm still probably one of the fastest turnaround times. Yeah. And so one of the things we've seen that comes out of this for the folks on the call is if roofing is not a category that you currently offer, we're starting to see folks actually gravitate a little bit more towards roofing because it is something that you can fulfill. It is a necessity. With storms and things happening, it's always going to be there. And so we're starting to see it as a growing category across the board. Now, my contractor that focuses nothing but roofing has done what Bob has done. It's weatherwood or charcoal. You try to keep them in one lane. You focus on leads and lead generation. But for other folks that are offering multiple services, and if roofing is either a smaller category or just not a category, it now has become a category or a growing part of that. So that's kind of the silver lining with all this is that we're able to coach and be able to teach contractors a little bit more about our segment.
You're still muted. So we didn't hear you.
Sorry. I said, did you have anything to add to that?
That's like the statement of 2020, right? You're muted.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt.
Well, I mean, Mike's right, though.
I'm a rookie.
There's a scary part to what Mike is saying, too. And when we were talking about, being mindful and looking forward, start thinking about this, guys. Mike is telling you, hey, other companies are jumping into this too, because they still have to make money. They still have to have a business that will make it through this. So they're looking for other products that they can go out, sell, install, collect, and deposit and get their pay. So that's one of those items where when you start thinking about what you're going to be offering to your consumers, one, back to that communication aspect with your sales teams and your marketing teams, that has to be a unified message. This is what we sell. This is what we offer. And set realistic expectations on your customers with your salespeople, because there is nothing more detrimental to a customer than to be given a promise that can't be fulfilled because all somebody wanted was to get a sale. So we have taken some very, very hard looks at all the different product lines that we carry, and we do bathtubs and showers, we do roofs and windows and doors and siding and gutters. So we've got just a plethora of things. Colors are going to be your biggest challenge. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. I honestly feel from the experts that I talk to in the industry, it's going to be Q4 of next year before we get completely through all of this backlog. And that's if nothing else happens. I mean, you've got these states, unfortunately, you've got to, as much as I don't want to, because it's usually all negative, you have to pay attention to the politics going on in your region, in your state, and in the country, because they will have an impact on your business, whether you like it or not. I mean, these mask mandates that the federal government has just put down, that's going to impact your business, and it's going to impact the workforce that's going to come in. And that is probably second only to raw material availability is the labor availability. And all of us have dealt with it. All of us are dealing with finding people to come in and go to work for us based on what we were paying before this pandemic hit. Now, if you want to find somebody, you got to pay them more to do the same job that you were paying somebody a year and a half ago. That has to be factored into your pricing, because none of us are here to just break even, I hope, because you won't be in business long. You've got to make a profit, but you have to align yourself with good talent. And right now, I will tell you, good talent is more expensive, but if you pay them well, treat them well, they'll stick around and your business will grow.
I can agree with that.
I'm not talking to Nick about a raise for you.
So in terms of balance, okay, so I hear you say like you're super intentional, you have these strategic plans that you're putting in place to help you confront this backlog. How do you keep the balance? How do you keep it going in terms of projects in the pipeline while making sure things are organized, while making sure your team is communicating all the way down from top to bottom? Like if you could give one tip to the attendees today, what would that be to keep that that system going that you've created?
First and foremost, breathe, right? Nobody's going to be right. Nobody's going to be wrong. You're going to try something that ain't going to work. Try something else and keep trying until you get to where you are. I mean, look, in 2019, in March of 2019, I had hair and no wrinkles. So just heads up, it's not going to be an easy journey, but you'll figure it out. But you got to be willing to try things. You have to be willing to gamble a little bit and try something. Look, if it doesn't work, back up, start over. But you'll make progress along the way. So most of you guys are probably familiar with what's called critical path, right? And if you have some type of critical path, CRM, or even if it's on paper, you have to be able to track the progress of what you're doing. Marketing gets the lead, sales sells the lead, finance approves it, sends it on to your operations teams and your production teams. You got a production manager and his staff. You've got to look at the job, get things ordered. Don't wait forever to get your measurements done. That's one of the biggest killers I've ever seen in this business is you've got a job that's 3 weeks old before you've ever got measurements taken on it and turned in. To Mike's point, we set it up where the minute that job is sold and turned into my office, the very next morning, within 12 hours of it being sold, we are placing an order with our distributor to make sure that that is allocated. So I call Mike and say, Mike, how many trucks do we have coming in this week? I know what I can build. So that communication is fundamentally the key to everything. And Mike and I probably talk 5 times a week, easily. You think it's more, Mike?
Probably. It feels more. It feels right.
But you have to have that relationship. So if you don't have a good relationship with your manufacturing partner and your distributor combined, you have to have everybody. It can't be me and Mike are in alignment and then the distributor's not in alignment. Everybody's got to kind of be pulling that rope from the same end to the point, and Mike knows this saying that I use, it's hard to be smart, but it's a good idea. Get out of your own way and don't be afraid to ask people for advice. You'd be surprised. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I still have to ask people for advice because shared knowledge is still knowledge.
That's right. That was when we first started our chat about this webinar, I kept thinking about that quote. It's hard to be smart, but it's a good idea. And when it comes to backlog, why do you think it's such a good idea to have a plan in place or technology or whatever it is?
Well, it's a plethora of things, right? It's technology, but it's mindfulness of your staff. Have that training aspect in place with your staff. Look, everybody, if you like football, we all know that football players and military people at the same time, you train like you fight and you train like you play. And then when it comes to game time or fight time, you fight like you trained or you play like you train. So you can't expect your staff to just step in 1 second and know what to do. You have to lead them and you have to guide them and have policies and procedures in place to handle those things. So if you don't have a very robust critical path process, I would tell you to start. Literally review each job every day. Sometimes technology is great, guys. It really is. But if your teams aren't huddling at least once a day to talk about the jobs that are in the pipeline, that is going to be the customer that's going to fall through the crack and disappear. And that customer will end up becoming the biggest pain in your butt and will eat up the most amount of time on you. I'd rather take the time on the front and have a happy customer than have to make up the time on the back. And now I'm ignoring a bunch of other customers because I got to deal with one problem. It's easier to do it on the front end than it is on the back end.
Yeah, I understand that. And it kind of can tie into incentives. I'd like to ask the audience here to do a poll real quick. I'm going to launch that for you guys. If a timeline has changed or the project runs longer than usual, do you currently have or do you offer any incentive to the homeowner? I'll take a second here to let the responses come in. Wow, I'm a little bit
I'm
shocked.
shocked. I'm
I'm-
shocked.
I'm a little bit shocked. 88% of you said no, and 13% of you said no, but I want to. So I think this is a great segue then, Bob, to talk about how you use incentives in terms of backlog.
Well, the first thing you have to do is if you're going to have an incentive, it has to be built into your pricing, right? We all know that you don't offer a discount to somebody that's not already part of your price. So one of the things that we started doing as the backlog got longer, especially on windows and patio doors, and now siding is also an issue. What we did is at the time of the sale, we gave our customers an additional $500. And that may be a weird number for some people based on what their selling prices are. We're expensive. We don't apologize for that. We charge a good amount of money for what we do, and we provide a service. But we set it up at the time of sale where the customer is given an additional discount of $500, and they sign a document saying they understand they're receiving that additional discount for their patients, and that we will get their project done when we can. The other thing I would recommend, and it kind of is a step off of this incentive topic, but we also started seeing that we were going to start having problems with customers getting fed up with waiting. And we actually had a couple of cancellations, or they tried to cancel, and we got them back in the boat, but we had to offer a discount. And we said, why wait till it's a problem? Let's do the discount on the front end, right up front, and buy that patience, if you would. And it's worked out very, very well. The other thing we did, and truth be told, if a customer doesn't have any money down on your job, they're not vested. And they can jump ship whenever they want to, pretty much, unless you want to go take them to court. And now you're just spending more money to do that. So why not put a little bit of incentive on the front end, keep the customer happy on the back end, and follow up with this. This is the key to your customers being happy. It's what I call touch points. Your customer needs to be communicated every step of the way. And that, look, we all know that once you place that window order with your manufacturer partner, it could be 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. We've got stuff that's taking 4 months to come in right now. If you don't talk to that customer for 4 months, from the day you order to the day you call and tell them it's coming in, dude, they've forgotten all about you. They're not even thinking about you. And now you call them up, and now they've got, well, hey, my hot water heater went out, the AC had to be replaced, and there's some excuse. And now you're battling with that homeowner to maintain your contract, and you've got products sitting in your warehouse. Do the touch points along the way. When you sell the job, that's a touch point. When you send it to your finance office, it's an approved deal, whether it's cash or finance, that's a touch point. When it goes to your production team, that's a touch point. When the measure tech goes out and measure, that's a touch point. When you place the order, that's a touch point that you can actually let them know your product's been ordered. Here's our expected receive date, like current market tendencies. And once a month, have it set up. If you've got a CRM, this is easy to do. If not, it's a little manual, but you could put somebody in charge of doing this, and you'd be surprised how fluid it will get. The first one is the hardest one, but once you get cyclic on it, it becomes pretty easy. But you should talk to that customer at least once a month, letting them know, I haven't forgotten you. We're still mindful of your job. We will keep in touch with you. Here's currently where we are that we expect to get that. And those touch points help keep those people in the boat, as I like to call it.
Yeah, definitely. That customer experience touch points are so important to a happy customer.
And Leap does help with that. I mean, if your program's set up right, Leap can help with that.
Yeah, for sure. So Bob and Mike want to leave our audience with some tips to take with them after today, so you guys can all battle backlog like they are doing from a manufacturer standpoint and a contractor standpoint. So if you guys want to talk about 5 things that maybe they can take away from this webinar today that will help them, I'm sure they would greatly appreciate it.
Mike, you want to go first, buddy?
Yeah, I'll go first. Mine's, pretty simple, obviously, just on the macro level coming from a manufacturer, but we kind of touched on it before with communication, but I would definitely suggest every week, if not multiple times a week, taking a look at what projects are now sold, turning them over to your distribution partner and communicating what's in stock, how to resource it, things of that sort. what colors are available, make sure that the reps or what's being sold is limited to a color limitation or product limitation, right? I mean, if you look at just GF as a whole, I make 5 or 6 different timber lines, and obviously we're down to 2. So it's, there's something you just want to make sure is not being represented at home, and all of a sudden it's not available. We're chasing our tails. So that's number 1. Number 2, I will say, I think right now more than ever, and I thank you guys obviously for joining a webinar today, but I think now more than ever, I think us as an industry, it's been a year and a half or maybe 2 where we haven't had a chance to connect in person as much. We haven't heard from contractors as much in terms of what's working, what's not working. I think right now is probably a good time as we get into the winter season to start to tee up some things more like this, to put yourself in a position to hear from folks like Bob that are in the same boat, that have put different things and implementing it, and sharpen your tool today so that going into 2022 will be a little bit better. I will tell you, there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel from us, but it's not a lot. We will be really no different, like Bob said, going into probably halfway of next year, unless all of a sudden something changes. But right now, I mean, the business is brisk. We're there's a lot of things going, a lot of moving parts. Building is still strong. New construction side and obviously re-roofing with storms is still relevant. So there's really not a whole lot of change. So now would be the time coming from September to the end of the year to really start to look at that. And so really that would be my advice, and really just to take a step back, understand where your business is at and what you can and what you're willing to implement moving forward to be that much better going into next year.
Absolutely. So Danielle likes my little quote. So my first tip is run your business by the rule of 6 Ps. This is, I'm a former military guy, and we did logistics operations, and we had to have a plan for everything we did. And you had to have a plan to back up that plan and a plan to back up the backup plan. You have those contingencies built in. So the rule of 6 Ps is prior proper planning prevents poor performance. Plan what you're going to do. Have a plan. Because if you don't, you're just flying by the seat of your pants. And unfortunately, you're going to get what you deserve. Nothing. You're going to end up wondering why everybody else is being successful and you're not. Put the hard work in up front and you'll be fine. Number 2 for me, Danielle, is the communication. Build that relationship with your manufacturing partners, with your distributors, but also with your installers. I mean, those are the guys that they have probably the hardest job, second to the marketing team, right? Because marketing has to get the lead for us. But that installer, he has to fulfill all those promises that we've made along the way. And the easier we can make his job, where he gets to that job site and he has what he needs to do his job, that's the job of the operations side of the house. So you have to have that collaboration and respect. That's the other key word, is respect. Respect each other's time, respect each other's position. Mike knows. I've called him up, said, dude, I'm going to take you to dinner, because if you think you've got it bad, think about your manufacturers and distributors. They're hearing it from every single person buying products from them. They are getting beat up every freaking day. Give them a break for a couple of days and just realize they're human. They're doing the best they can. So we're all going to either be in it or out of it, one way or the other. I'd rather be in it. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a little bit of a battle, but shoot, guys, think about it. We've been doing it for over a year now. We're still here. We're still okay. We'll figure it out. And once it's over, we're going to be rock stars. So don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to put something in place, see how it works. And if it doesn't work, stop doing it. It's not that difficult to pull something back. It really isn't. But maintain that healthy dialogue with your employees too, because they're hearing it from your customers. They're hearing it from, the people in your production teams, the ones that are in the office doing the paperwork and ordering things. They're hearing it from the customer. They're hearing it from the sales managers. They're hearing it from the installers, the project managers. So everybody just kind of needs to take a little breath, back up a little bit, slow down, realize what you're looking at, come up with a game plan, fix what you're offering. If you are still running a smorgasbord at your company, I would slim it down. I would start narrowing down what you offer so that you can control the pipeline a little better. That's it. That's all I got. I'm out. You're muted.
That's awesome. I failed today. Too many mutes. All right, so let's move on to our Q&A session. I'm going to share my screen here. And if you have, can everybody see my Q&A screen? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. You can submit your questions in the chat box, or you can put them in the Q&A box that's on the bottom of your screen as well. We'll see. You guys should be able to see the questions coming in. Mine disappeared on me, so let me see if I can find it real quick here. Where'd it go? Do you guys see any questions coming in?
No, ma'am. There's something from James Mayers.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing, James. Let's see here. He says to Bob, what are you doing to attract new installers? And do you have any advice for placing ads?
Yeah, ads need to be simple, and it's a great question. Ads need to have a call to action. Whether we like it or not, all of us are still looking for installers, which is kind of a weird paradigm, isn't it? Here we are talking about material shortages and manufacturing taking forever to get stuff to us, but then we're all stuck with the labor problem too, right? And we're all having to pay more for labor. If you're having a hard time finding labor, one of the things that we did is created what we call an entrepreneurial internship, where we will take somebody who may be a helper on a team and say, look, we're going to help you set up. So I'll buy the truck, I'll buy the equipment, I'll buy the trailer, and I'm going to give it to that new team. They have to prove proficiency. So we put them through tests, and they have to have a journeyman's period of time, but they'll go through that. And we make an agreement with them. At the end of 3 years, you work for us and us only. At the end of 3 years, that truck, that trailer, and that equipment belongs to you. Whether you stay with me or go somewhere else, it's yours. So it's an investment, and you have to be very careful, and somebody's got to be paying attention to make sure that people are being trained properly and that they're getting their certifications done. Again, I understand that probably is hard for some people, whether you're a 1099 subcontract type company or a W-2, but there are ways around it. And if you want to, Danielle, there's some stuff that I could probably share with somebody on the way we set it up. It is basically a lease to buy type situation where they're leasing the equipment from us, but at the end they own it. And you can also do sign-on bonuses, James, where you can bring somebody in and maybe pay them an extra $100 for each job, and at 25 jobs completed, you struck them a check for $2,500. That's another good way to do it.
Great tip. Ron Simmons says, what do you do when homeowners don't make progress payments on schedule as a payback for the delay in installation? Also, what to do when they demand a discount or simply refuse to pay the final?
Okay, so that's a lot to unpack there. Can we break that down a little bit?
Yeah, let's do the first question. What do you do when homeowners don't make progress payments on schedule as a payback for the delay in installation?
Well, I mean, the first thing you have to do is look at the verbiage that's in your contract and make sure that that is not something that they can get away with. That would be something you have to talk to your legal counsel about. Truth be told, we don't do stage payments. If a customer does put down a down payment, we will take it. But most of the customers, we don't ask for anything down. I mean, luckily, I think we're big enough that we can get away with that. I understand that some of the smaller companies probably can't, because you need that cash flow for operational purposes. So my suggestion would be, depending on how your progress payments are set up, is look at the percentages of what you're doing. Most people, look, we all are going to deal with that one customer that just thinks they're untouchable and they're going to do the dumb stuff and they're going to just be a pain in the butt for you. Those are the ones that, again, like I said before, don't let them eat up all your time. You've got, for every one of those, you've got 100 customers who aren't like that. Take care of the 99. that one customer figure it out. If you got to take them to court, let them know, you have a legally binding agreement with them. I don't use the word contract because contract gets it all legal and weird. So just say, look, we have a binding agreement and this is a progress payment. Now, I'm not sure how you're set up because I haven't talked to you, but I would say if your progress payments are based on time and you haven't delivered the install, I'd probably be a little hard pressed to keep making payments to you as well. So maybe change up the progress payments, get a larger down payment. Then when you place the order, get a larger percentage and maybe let them have a retainage of 20% at completion of the job.
And then he also asked what to do when they demand a discount or simply refuse to pay that final.
Again, it's hard to deal with a customer at the end now demanding a discount. Say, sir, look, I'm not getting any discounts from my manufacturer. Our costs have consistently gone up. They haven't gone down. I understand why you feel the way you do, but I can't give you a discount when I've already discounted your project already. I mean, no offense. I'm just like you. I'm a business. I'm in business to make a profit. I won't stay open, which means I won't be here to service your job if you ever need service, if I'm out of business because I keep giving everybody discount. With that said, I think it's a good takeaway to say, okay, maybe go back and at the beginning of the job, do a set discount for your customers up front and have that document signed up front that they took that discount with the understanding there are lengthy delays coming from manufacturer.
Yeah, that communication is just key with your homeowner.
I hope that helped.
All right, well, we are almost out of time here. For those of you who don't know, Leap is a subscription-based software that home service contractors use to digitize their business, digital contracts, estimates, documents, financing, and more. Integrating with top home improvement software, Leap eliminates redundancies and errors that slow down your sales process and brings everything together in one place. We also partner with many of the top software companies used by the home improvement and specialty contracting industry to provide users with a seamless all-in-one experience. A lot of the logos are here that we are partnered with, and you might see one that you use, which is great because that means we integrate with Leap. I'd like to now, if you would like to learn more about Leap, you can click the hand raise button at the bottom of the screen, and someone who specializes in your market will reach out to you this week. We'll also send an email out in a couple days with this recording as well. Let's see here. Hang on here, guys. I'm just, our next educational webinar is September 28th, a sales managers roundtable. Presented by us, Leap. The recording from today's presentation, again, will be sent out to you all in the next 2 business days. If you have any questions about the presentation today or any questions for Bob, you can email bespoke@leaptodigital.com and we will get them answered for you. Thank you, Mike and Bob for this awesome presentation. And thanks to Leap for sponsoring this webinar and making this possible. I know I learned a lot about Backlog from a contractor standpoint and from a manufacturer standpoint today. So yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, Danielle. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.